Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for being here as always. So today is going back to kind of my old style videos, bit more of advice videos because I haven't done one in a while. I've mainly been yammering on about my Honda CB500X, which you may have noticed from the last couple of videos. So anyway, today what we're talking about is pillion riders. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's having a passenger on the back of your bike, or commonly known as riding two up. But if you hear me saying those, I might switch between them. It just means you got someone on the back of the bike. Okay. What I did want to talk to you guys today was about the little things you can do that are going to make your life as a rider easier and the life of the pillion easier when you go out for a ride. This is aimed more at kind of the first time you as a rider have someone and the first time the pillion goes on the bike as well, because that is the time when you're going to be the most nervous as a rider and a pillion. So there are just a few things I want to run through that are going to make everyone kind of a bit more at ease about the whole getting on the motorbike situation. So what I like to do with every pillion, regardless of if they've been on the back of the bike before, I like to just have a quick chat with them about what my bike's like, what they can expect from the bike, about how it's going to move. I mean, obviously, if the other person's a biker, you don't need to tell them too much, but just kind of, you can explain where the grab handles are, what do they feel comfortable, are they going to put the arms around the waist, they're going to get the grab handles on the side of the bike if you've got them. So just have a little chat about what they, just inform them what they can expect from the bike. For the people who haven't experienced being on a motorbike before, might be worth just going through, you're going to hear this noise, the bike's going to do this, in terms of taking bends and roundabouts, because the bike will move differently to someone who's only been used to being in a car. And it is quite a scary experience. So having that briefing, you telling them what to expect from you and the bike, but also tell them what you as a rider expect from them as the passenger, because you want them to understand what's going to be happening. They need to know things like, don't try and fight the bike, just go with the flow, go where the bike goes, and lean with you as a rider. Try and be one, if that makes sense, because I've had it where I've had a pillion who, even though I explained this, he didn't like where the bike was going, and I found myself going straight on a roundabout pretty much because he was bigger than me, and he was trying to fight the bike, and it makes your life as a rider a lot harder. It can get to a point where it is dangerous. I haven't been in that situation, but it just makes things so much more difficult. Whereas if you've got someone who just goes with the lean of the bike, your day's going to be a lot better. One thing I have found that helps both of you is intercoms. They are great. I've always gone on about how much I love intercom systems. They're not for everyone, I understand that. But for having a pillion for the first time, an intercom can be really, really helpful, because instead of just shoving all this information at them and then getting on the bike and then not talking to them, you can explain things as it's happening. I'm coming up to a roundabout, you're going to feel the bike braking and slowing, so that means you're going to move forward and push into the back of me, or there might be something that they can't see as a pillion, you've seen as a rider, maybe an emergency, you're going to have to brake quickly, and you can tell them, brace yourself, I'm going to have to slow the bike down. So it's things like that that can really help, because there's less shock factor because you're explaining what's going on as it's happening. Also, the other side of intercoms, you can talk to each other. It's more sociable, which can make both of you feel more at ease. It's less awkward, I guess. But like I said, it's not for everyone. In the case of if you don't have intercoms or you don't like using them, just explain hand gestures to the pillion as well, and then that way at least you can get messages across to each other, even if they're basic, like things like I need to stop or whatever. So just make sure there is some way that you can talk to each other, even if it's I need to stop, hit me in the back of the head kind of thing. I wouldn't advise you do that one, but it was just a silly example. Now, talking to the riders and not the pillions. As a rider, you need to make sure you are confident on that bike before you even consider letting someone get on the back of it. Like I said at the beginning, it's a big deal to have someone on the back of the bike. I think it was about 8 months of riding before I let someone get on the back of my bike, because I wanted to make sure that I was confident in how I rode as a biker. So it is a big thing, and when you first get a bike, it is cool. A lot of your mates are going to be saying, oh, let me have a go, let me jump on. Just make sure that you don't have too much doubt and you're not too worried about it, because if you're worried about it, the pillion's going to be worried about it. So as a rider, just make sure you're confident enough to have someone on the back, because it does change things, like I'm going to talk about now. The bike won't be the same. So if this is the first time you've had a pillion on the back of the bike, it's going to be different. The way, when you ride on your own, you get used to how your bike performs and behaves. You know when coming up to a bend, just the right amount of lean and all that kind of stuff. You know your bike, which is great, but having someone else on the back of it is going to change it all. Especially if it depends on the pillion as well. It depends on their size, their height, their weight. It's all going to factor in, and you're going to have to take it a bit slower when you first get the pillion on, because you want to find out how the bike is reacting to the added weight, the added person, and make sure that you kind of find out all the little changes before you go kind of a bit more crazy. Just take 5 minutes of the ride as soon as you get on, just to figure out what's changed and get your head around what you need to do to counteract those changes. It might not be much. I'm not saying it's going to be drastic every time, but you just need to be aware that it's not going to feel exactly the same as when you're riding solo. So the other thing, I've kind of touched on it, it's just pace yourself with it. Having a pillion is different, as I said. And if you like to ride around at high speeds, great. But with a pillion, especially one that has never been on a bike, you want to make sure you make them feel at ease. Because the last thing you want to do is be scaring the absolute shit out of your passenger, because it's not going to do them any favours, and that's going to make them more nervous. They're going to tense up, they're going to start fighting the bike, and then you're just in for a whole world of problems. Whereas if you calm it down a bit, just till they settle into it, I mean, your pillion might turn around to you at some point when you stop off and go, you know what, I'm feeling really great about this now, let's pick up the pace, and that's awesome, go for it. But just give them that time to get used to it as well. Like I said, these are just some of the things that I've kind of picked up on when having been talking to my pillions, and things that I've done that seem to have helped them feel more comfortable on the bike, and me as well. Because it's a two-way street. You both want to feel at ease being on the bike. Like I said, for the guys who have ridden, have had pillions all the time, you probably know what I'm talking about and probably think I'm just talking a load of crap like normal. But it was just a few things for the first time kind of riders and pillions to bear in mind. And the biggest thing with it as well is all these things will help, but having a pillion more often, that's what's going to get you used to it. Especially if you ride with the same person frequently, you'll get used to their habits and that kind of stuff. They'll get used to the way you ride as well. So yeah, just practicing with it, and then hopefully these tips and tricks might help. Like always, guys, if you think I've made some good points. Let me know. If you think I've chatted absolute crap, which I probably have, again, let me know. But as always, ride safe, and I'll talk to you guys soon.